All right. I am just making sure I've got everything set up. I'm going to presume it goes live instantly this time. I don't stream enough to really know the difference. All right, so I'll wait a little bit to see if anybody tags on. But this is another pay what you want / free RPG stream. This is material that comes out and it's either promotional or somebody trying to get their foot in the door, or sometimes just a really good product that they rely on donations for. And I go ahead and every so often I gather a fair amount together, and then I look through them on stream and I give my initial thoughts. This is like short form reviews because there's way too many products for me to review every little thing, especially at my glacial review pace. I need to pick that up a little bit. I just put one out, Heist of the Mad King's Jewel, for a 5th edition thing somebody asked me to look at. I've got Deep Carbon Observatory review already done and in the queue. My patrons already have access to it, and it will be coming up, I think, next week. I am currently working on my review of Temple of Elemental Evil from Goodman Games, the original Adventures Reincarnated version that converts it to 5th edition and adds a bunch of things. And I got the second volume in the other, and that one's going to take me a little while because there was a lot of material in it. I also, Stellagama Publishing, I have Sword of Cepheus to review. I've been sent a copy of the Cepheus Light Deluxe or Cepheus Deluxe product, which I have not looked at yet, which I'm going to review that when it comes in. And I also know that Dark Wizard is sending me some more. Well, I don't know if they're sending me some more stuff, but they have got some other stuff in the works. And I promise that even if I gotta like just take a PDF, like get a PDF or something, I'll take a look at that when the time comes. I got a lot of stuff queued up, but this is just quick looks, a quick summary, flip through, giving my initial thoughts on things. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad, sometimes they're kind of crazy and silly, and sometimes they suck. And I will let you know right off the bat. I know some people ask me. They ask me. Well, no, that's ask me. I've had mentioned a few times that I only review like positive things, and first of all, no, I've reviewed some borderline things. But second, it's not that I only review positive things. It's that if something's really, really terrible, and yet also not really widely known, I often find it a better case to just not look at it and just not waste my time and your time as a viewer, like making a video on something in my style. If I ripped it apart and like dumped on it, that would be a different thing, but that's not my review style. My review style is more informative and straightforward. So there is that. I kind of skip doing that on stuff that I know is not going to be pretty good. Oh shit, I should have muted. My bad. It is that time of year. That's why I have my fan on. It is warm here, and it is humid here. Anyway, let's get started. I was kind of killing time to see. Occasionally I get people to watch live, but usually not until later in the stream, so it's good. So, as always, I've got... How many products do I have tonight to look through? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I have 14 products. It's a little bit high end on these, so I may not get to them all. I also had 2 that I wanted to review, but my system crashed before I noted what they were, so I never got around to saving them. So rest in peace those. Anyway, as always, I'll split these into 3 categories. I'll cover the 5th edition material first. I'll cover OSR stuff second, because that's one of the more popular ones. And I'll cover like miscellaneous other stuff, which may or may not include additional OSR stuff towards the end. So let's see. I've got some gummy bears, so yeah, there's that. Let's see what we have tonight. I have not taken a pre-screen of these. Usually I go through these to make sure there's no like really questionable content for YouTube. I haven't done that this week. So yeah, let's see if I get this particular stream in trouble. Anyway, We will start with What Lies Beneath the RPG Metal Opera's Player's Guide. So this is a player's guide for a 5th edition product. Let me pop up their site. It is from Ragnarok Games. For fans of heavy metal and fantasy RPGs comes What Lies Below the RPG Metal Opera, a metalized version of the current edition of the world's most popular RPG. I would venture to say the world's most well-marketed RPG. Not necessarily sure how popular it is anymore. I will pop a link in the chat so you know what I'm looking at. Boom. Right there. And yeah, this looks... I've seen so much stuff try to give D&D a metal twist, including Merkberg, but very few of them do it to any degree of success. So we shall have to see how this one goes. So looks like it's got a very simplistic, kind of old school side diagram of a dungeon on the top. I like that. It's a player's guide. Man, there is so much red here. So much red in this design. I don't necessarily know if that looks out. Let me pop this on to fit one full page. I don't necessarily know if this is pleasing to the eye. This is a whole lot of red. Written and designed by C. Bird. Cover art and illustrations by C. Bird. Well, it's a one-man show. I know how that goes. There are 90 pages in this. I'm not going to go over them all. We're going to go ahead and skim through. We've got a preface, how to play an RPG. I may look at that just for the amusement factor. Basic rules. I will skim them for any changes. Character creation and level advancement. I'll skim that. I'll take a look at the races. I've got different ones from what I'm used to. Got different classes. These look almost like stuff that you'd see in like Merkborg or Darkest Dungeon, some of that kind of things. Then they got equipment, adventuring materials, rules, which is general rules, and then there's spells. I'm gonna like just breeze through the last bits, but let's go through the first one. So you want to join the other fools and seek your fortune in the dungeon, eh? Fine, then go. You adventurers never listen anyway, but first say goodbye to the sunlight. Where you're going, there is none. And when you lie dying in some dark, forsaken place, alone and abandoned, and you hear some foul thing crawling out of its hole, you'll know. Oh yes, you'll know that there are fates worse than death. Alright. You love RPGs and heavy metal, new metal-inspired classes, no spell slots per rest class features. I've seen that done well a few times, so that's cool. Compatible with 5th edition, metalized spells, and yet only a couple pages devoted to them. New alignment system and sub-skills, that's okay. And because WLB rocks harder than Manowar in 89. WLB is not something I'm familiar with. Oh, What Lies Below, there we go. That's the name of the product. So, yeah, that remains to be seen, because Manowar rocked pretty hard, so we'll see. A few years later, another event, Rock My World, or says this is just the intro. It's telling people that they got introduced to metal and RPGs at roughly the same time. So, hold on. That's when the first RPG Metal Opera was held in St. Paul, Minnesota. That was spring 2020. So the rules were simple. You shall not pause the metal during the game no matter what. Even to change playlists, I don't know. If you can't handle a song, call for mercy and we'll hit skip, but your PC suffers psychic damage. That's actually kind of funny. That's kind of funny. So let's go with what's next. It's all about heavy metal, but since there are more genres and subgenres of metal than I care to count, I'll explain the inspiration for What Lies Below is primarily thrash and speed metal from the late 70s or early 2000s. Variety also in the mix, a touch of death metal, hard rock, doom and sludge, and yes, even hair metal. So it's this particular one's based on a session that included Metallica, Anthrax, Megadeth, Slayer, Motorhead, Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, and Black Sabbath, Sepultura, Testament, Exodus, Suicidal Tendencies, AC/DC, Ozzy, Dio, Kiss, Manowar, Death, Mastodon, High on Fire. There's some real... I only see a couple in here that I don't know, and I don't know how that reflects on my musical taste. Because while I like metal, I don't consider myself a metalhead, and yet I recognize most of these things. Not some of the newer ones, mind you. Not some of the newer ones. Maybe I need to listen to some of these. Metal songs may contain offensive lyrics, of course. There's your usual... here we go. Hold on. The author. Here is your. They should just put this as generic, modern disclaimer, so that you don't get canceled. The author does not condone music containing hate speech, racist, sexist, homophobic lyrics, or promoting discrimination against individuals or groups because of their race, religion, gender, or sexuality. RPGs and metal should be inclusive and welcoming to all. My question is this. Now hear me out here. I don't think that I've ever read a product that says they do condone that sort of thing, right? So the purpose of like something like this is just sheer stupidity. It's like I've known. Look. I grew up in the South. I've known, and I grew up in the South before a lot of people that bitch about this kind of thing were even born. Okay, I'm not super old, but I'm old enough to remember people who were like hardline, like actual Klan. I've met a few. They were older when I was young, but I've met a few. And if they wrote an RPG, they wouldn't put that they do condone it. So the purpose of not condoning it is just it's stupid. People like that just don't think right. And it's useless to say. Anyway, let me get back on it. The line, a lot of the old songs were simply for shock value. Right after this disclaimer, it says, keep in mind, a lot of the old songs were simply for shock value. See what I'm saying? That they come up with the most offensive crap they can be with. So it immediately contradicts itself. I'm like not even sure where this product's going to go after that. You know? It's like, we don't condone metal with these kind of lyrics. But keep in mind, metal does have these kind of lyrics. I like this art. I like this intro art. I'm going to get off my soapbox here. I like this intro art. This is obviously based on... oh, crap. I don't have it. Yeah, I've got it. That's obviously based on the first edition Player's Guide art. I love it when that comes up, although it is a bit of an overused tired trope. I need an old art Dungeon Master's first edition guide. I need to pick one of those up. But I like it when they pay homage to that, and it's done well here. So that's cool. An RPG is a game in which players assume the roles of characters. One player called the Game Master, GM Master, Referee, and yawn, blah, blah, blah. Wait a second. No, not in metal. These days, even your grandma knows how to play an RPG. I'm not necessarily, well, my grandma's dead, but I'm not necessarily sure about that. This book assumes you know basic RPG term and concepts. Good. Uses the basic core 6. Good. D20 plus a modifier. Good. That's just standard. 5th edition compatible. AC, hit points and levels, experience points, and difficulty class all in here. Unless it's redefined in this book, assume it works the same as in the core rules. Good to know. That's actually really good to know. Succinct, to the point. Got it. Metal has many sides. See, so when you draw your stories, you feel a rush of adrenaline. I'm actually, aside from that goofy intro, I'm liking this so far. It's easy to read. I'm not going to read it out all. I'm not going to read all of it out, but it's well edited. I'm not seeing any spelling errors. It's very, very, technically adept. That's good. I can't tell you how many RPGs I've read that are not technically adept, including a lot of recent Wizard of the Coast stuff. It's terrible. Character death is a real possibility. It is a game after all. If you won all the time, would it really be fun? However, it's not designed to be a meat grinder where you have to roll up a new PC every other session. I don't agree that's a common thing amongst older editions, although it certainly can be if people aren't tactically astute. But I like that balance. That's good. Now let's cover what you won't find. That's good. Cantrips, no. That's good. Inspiration, short rest, spell slots, subclasses, and tool proficiencies. All of these are out the window. See, that's actually nice because that brings it closer to a more OSR feel. I kind of like that. Next up is partial deletion, the proficiency bonus. You only add a proficiency bonus to ability checks and saving throws in which you're proficient. You don't add it to attack rolls for weapons or spells. The level advancement chart at the end of the chapter shows your proficiency bonus at each level, which I strongly suspect is to help reinstate the difference between fighter attacks and non-fighter attacks. But we'll see how that goes. And I like these changes so far. It's a very simplified version of 5th edition Lemonade, by the way. The GM can award magic weapons without breaking game balance, because it does use a slower attack progression. Okay, yes, so that was there to reinstate the difference between fighter classes and non-fighter attacks. Ability score mods. Some spells, attacks, dungeon attacks, monsters deal damage directly to your ability scores. They do include a temporary ability score damage. I don't know. Do they? I've never seen that done in 5th edition. Did they take that out of 5th edition? And don't laugh at me for not knowing, because 5th edition can go F itself at this point. But I don't remember seeing any. I don't think there is ability damage in 5th edition, is there? So it's good that it's here. Okay, here's your standard 6. Nothing changed here. How to make an attack? It's just D20 plus strength, D20 plus dex, depending on what you got. They retain the finesse versus general melee. That's good. Spell attack comes up with your basic spell attack. That's good. Plus combat bonus. That brings an interesting point. I got to see if there's any hybrid classes in there, because that would mean their combat bonus applies to both their melee and their spell, which is good. Instead of using spell slots and class features that recharge after a short long rest, the core powers of each class are fueled by power points. They're kind of like psionics, right? And they name them different for each class. So the 2 spell casting classes, the Cultist and High Sorcerer, use spell points regardless of the name. Each class's points function the same. You must spend them to cast a spell or activate an ability. I don't see any indication that they stack, so I have to guess that there's no multi-class in this. Saving throws have been redesigned and expanded so that all 6 saving throws are used regularly, which is good, because some are really, really not used. Some are either used relatively rarely or inconsistently in base 5th edition. Strength now covers saving throws against transmutation spells, paralyzation, and petrification. I don't know if I would do that, but I guess so. It represents your ability to withstand physical damage, intelligence versus illusion and psychic attacks, charisma versus enchantments, dexterity, constitution, wisdom function more like they do in the same rules. Okay, that's cool. I like these so far, actually. I do like using charisma versus charms and possession and enchantment, since charisma is supposed to be a measure of your basically your your strength of personality. Ability checks and skills. Use the same list with skills of 5th edition, but further defines handful of skills with sub skills for greater specialization. Survival has been recategorized from wisdom to constitution, which I'm not sure I agree with, but that's all right. Because in the base 5th edition, you can use skills with any core stat, so you could just ask your players to roll a survival versus constitution, so it's not a hard and fast thing to do anyway, but I guess it's okay for this. Okay, sub skills, climb, bend bars, wrestling. I like this because this brings back some older stuff that I kind of like. It also replaces a lot of the tools tools proficiencies that they took out. Looting on int investigation. That's interesting. There are 4 levels of specialization: proficiency, expertise, reliability, and mastery. Proficiency is basic. Expertise means you double it. Reliability means you roll a 9 or lower. It uses a 10, which is actually in the rules of 5th edition, just not called that, so I like the fact that they formalized that. Mastery means that if its total is less than your ability score, you use your ability score. I'm not sure. I think that is good for a metal game. I don't necessarily know that I'd use it in my games, but that does seem good in a metal / over the top style. Alright, characters. Metal has had its share of iconic characters: Ozzy / Halford, Lars, James, and Bruce Dickinson. And who can forget Dio? Okay, so what do we got here? You choose a class. Here's your class list for this. Cultists give you Master of the Occult. That is your wisdom-based spellcaster. Hellion is a charisma / strength and melee striker, so that's your paladin, kind of, almost, not really. High Sorcerer is your wizard. Jack is your gambler rogue. That's actually your, I want to say your bard, but it is also a striker. So Mad Axe is your barbarian. Shifter is your... it's not a druid. It's a shapeshifter. But it's more of a tank. Slayer is int and dex range striker. That's like an archer, I guess, maybe. And then trooper is just your fighter class, I guess. All right, choose a race. You get bone elf as dex or int, devil child, footling, goblin, human, iron dwarf, orc, and taint. There's your basic scores. You can use a standard array. There is no rolling, just standard array, because everybody needs to be the same. Alignment, custom all alignment system. What does the alignment system have? Your alignments are do-gooder, crusader, mercenary, free spirit, and wicked, so they're going more for the 4th edition style of alignments, which is all right. It's fitting with the genre. I will give it that. So that's cool. So you've got your do-gooder. That's, I think this is like basically neutral good. Crusaders are your, I guess, your lawful good types, except not necessarily, because it's more about oath and honor, so it could be lawful good in most instances, but could then not. Mercenaries are more either neutral or neutral evil. They survive despite the odds. I like how these alignments have both restrictions associated with them that are like hard in-game restrictions and benefits from taking them. I kind of like that. I'm not sure that I'm not sure like the structure on how it does in this particular game is how I do it, but I kind of like that idea. Then wicked are your chaotic evil characters. Restrictions none, benefits none. Apparently, wicked characters just excel at freedom, and that's about it. Record hit points and class features, of course. You do roll your starting gold. I don't understand this, man. They want to be fair by making everybody use the standard array, but then they give you starting. Then you roll up starting gold. If you're gonna be like everything's fair and equal, then you may as well go for broke and just do the gold, you know. And purchase equipment, choose a name, and then a quirk, which is optional. So there's a quirk system. Level advancement, similar to 5th edition. You've got standard, except it looks like there's more experience points required for each one, and there's a level 10 level cap, which is, I kind of like that. I kind of like that. So, you get experience for defeating monsters and for finding treasure. That is why they're higher. That is why they're higher, because this has an experience for gold mechanic. I gotta say I'm a fan of that. And one of the reasons I am a fan of experience for gold is that it's an easy to understand way to reward. It's an easy to understand, non-arbitrary way to reward characters for progressing in their resources while not necessarily focusing on combat. And there are other ways to do it depending on the genre, but for something that's metal, I guess that works. So here we go, some backstory about how the metal was discovered by dwarves. Alright, and I'm not going to read all of this. It's a short story. And it sounds like it could be like on the cover of an album. That's cool. Take a look at the races. Bone Elf. They ever lived in tree houses, sat around singing songs, the days are long forgotten. Bone elves are twisted shadows of fair faithful. Many are savage and vicious, others cold and calculating. So this one gets +2 to Dex or Int, speed 30 foot, dark vision 60, Fey ancestry, just like elves. Hey, what's up, man? Trance, you get the same benefit from. So these are basically your elf stuff. They get proficiency in perception and survival, and they get. Yeah, so bone elves are literally just elves. Devil Child is tieflings. Yeah, you may look like a tiefling with cool horns, crimson skin, and tail and spooky eyes, but you don't belong to a separate race. You were born a human and to a human mother or father after some unholy rites with a fiend of hell. So yeah, they're like better tieflings. All right, Devil Child gets any one ability score to +2, which is nice, nice flexibility there. Resistance to fire damage, proficiency in stealth and deception, and that's not a bad thing. Footling, halfling makes it sound like you're only half a person. That's just a name the big oafs use. Like that derogatory name, all the stories about your people are wrong. You don't live in comfy holes. They never settle down. Many humans. Okay, so these are halflings, right? Footlings, my bad, because they're all about the feet. I think that's like marginally worse. Anyway, they're like Quentin Tarantino's chosen race. +2 to Dex. Pick one score to increase by +1, so they're a little bit more well-rounded. Lucky Strike. You reroll ones on damage dice. You must use the new result, but I don't imagine that would be worse than 1, so that's a benefit of it. You have advantage on saving throws against being frightened or in fear effects. That's good. Perception and stealth. You have expertise in stealth. Man, the footlings are like, they're like objectively better than the other races so far. Somebody had a thing for halflings, I think. Okay, goblins. They're just goblins. +2 to Dex or to Con. Immune to disease, which is really nice. If your DM uses a lot of diseases, not a lot do. Adaptable, pick one weapon or skill as a bonus proficiency. That's interesting. Survival and perception. They're like, they're okay, I guess. I don't necessarily know why I would pick a goblin over anything else so far. Because if you wanted a dex thing, then halflings are objectively better. So I guess it's just if you want to play that goblin. Humans, pick one score to put to +2. You're proficient in 2 skills of your choice. Pick one star of your feat. The humans are, as usual, a little bit overpowered when they get the feat at first level, so that's understandable. That's good. Optional, pick an ethnicity. Getting spicy here. Gojiran Woodfolk get... Whoops. Oh, that doesn't give you any bonuses, though. That just gives you the background. I kind of like that. It's like a cultural menu that gives you no bonuses or penalties. That's not bad. Iron dwarves are just dwarves. +2 to Constitution or Strength. Don't take speed penalty from wearing heavy armor. Advantage on saving throws against poison. Resistance against poison. You have the ability to craft magical runes on armor and weapons. That's better than normal dwarves. They only get 1 skill proficiency, investigation, but they have expertise in investigation, find secret doors, so that's good. Although stone cutting is more than just finding secret doors. Yeah, dwarves are solid. So what do orcs have? +2 to strength. Pick one other score to increase by +1. Base is 30 foot and then not reduced by wearing heavy armor, so they're like better dwarves in speed. 60 foot dark vision. Does anybody else have dark vision? I think everybody else has. No. Some do, some don't. Okay, that's good. Focused attack. When you score a critical hit, you can roll 1 more damage. So they're basically they're like better half orcs, basically. Not bad. Taint. You were human once. Then by ill luck and fate, the chaos plague warped your flesh. Now you're spawn of chaos. They get the human anyone ability scored by +2. You have any number of minor cosmetic mutations, so they become mutants. They can pick any one. Natural armor bonus. A 3rd arm. That's kind of messed up. Eye stalks. Oh my god. And not even even number. Is 1d4 + 3 eye stalks. It's kind of messed up. Can you wear helms? Like, does that keep you from wearing helms? It doesn't say in here, so I guess you can squash the eye stalks down. Claws, your unarmed strikes deal slashing damage. You have advantage on wisdom. Oh, 2 heads. You have advantage on wisdom, perception, and vigilance things. 1 head stays awake while the other sleeps. Can you wear 2 hats? Can you wear 2 helmets? Tentacles. You have 2 tentacles that can extend up to 10 feet from your body. Yeah, I'm not sure the taint stuff. I mean, I like it in concept, but it seems kind of a little bit off the wall. All right, I'm just going to breeze through the classes. Not going to focus a lot on them. Cultist is your spellcasting priest class. You get to select between 1 of 5 magics. It looks like the spells cap out at level 5. You can pick necromancy, alchemy, Abjuration, Evocation, or Enchantment as your level 2 and 5th level specializations, so that's not bad. Give me a sec, I couldn't give it up. Moment while I have a candy. No, that's not bad. It just gives you a minor bonus in one particular school of magic. You get feats at those feat levels rather than increased. I will note, it doesn't let you increase your ability scores. So it's only feats in this system. Special ritual. Oh wait, they do have ability score increases, just not as often. So you get ability scores and feats. It's just they alternate them. Okay, I can dig that. So the ritual is at 3rd and 7th level and lets you pick an entity to align with. The number of the beast. Summon a pit fiend from the bowels of hell at 9th level. That's a little bit OP, but I could see that being really cinematic. Alright, burnt offerings lets you pick one of these. So you get to pick 2 of these over the course of your career. The Angel Witch. They give you requirements. Once per year for 24 hours, you must go to the Wild Forest and personally serve the Angel Whip and her wicked desires. Unfortunately, you never know if she's in the mood for pleasure or pain. In exchange, you can cast the Smoke Step as if it were on your cast. I don't know, man. That seems kind of weak. Smoke Step. As if it were on your spellcast list. On your class spell list, so you still have to memorize it. Ouch. King in Yellow, that gives you a cost of 4 spell points. You can make a melee spell attack against one creature. On a hit, you mark it with a yellow sign. A creature marked by the yellow sign has disadvantage on all attacks it makes against you for 1 minute after being marked. Like, some of these are objectively better than others. Death. You make a burnt offering to death, spelled with an ETH, not an EATH. You dress in black, wear a lot of skull symbols, and tell people that soon they'll be worm food. In exchange for your reverence of the Grim Reaper, you can cast the spell Them Bones, which I'm assuming is an animated skeleton thing. Yeah. Elemental gods. These are okay. I like the approach. I do. Let's go towards the Hellion. Hellion's kind of like your twisted paladin type. Between the fire and the brimstone, the wailing and the torture, hell wasn't a lot of fun. Only one burning desire kept you from going through non-stop torment. Revenge. So you've escaped hell and come back to avenge yourself. The combat bonus, let's take a look at the combat bonuses. The Hellion's supposed to be like a melee type. And this one does not have combat bonuses. No, they've got combat bonuses. They go from 0 to 3, and then the Hellion goes from like 1 to 4, right? Yeah, 1 to 4. So the Hellion is a combat one. They get proficiency with all weapons and armor. That's understandable. Among the living, you're back from the dead. One day you're in hell, the next you're back on the streets. You get the following benefits: advantage on saving, which is going to be frightened, expertise, and intimidate. 1 additional skill proficiency and resistance against 1 damage type. That's cool. Hellraiser. Let me take a look. Okay, they use Hellraiser points to activate things, and their powers are at the end. So they're kind of like a cross between paladins and warlocks. I'm digging this so far. I mean, it could use a little balancing here and there, but I'm liking it thematically. They get a favored enemy type of thing. They get a Hellhound to serve at 7th level for they can summon it once every 24 hours. Hell's bells ringing in your head. One day the devil's coming for you. When you score a critical hit with a melee attack, everyone around you can also hear the bells of hell tolling their heads. The target and every creature within 10 feet of you must succeed on a wisdom saving throw equal to your Hellraiser save DC or be stunned. So you can actually stun your own people by this by accident. So this is like encouraging you to like wander out ahead of everybody. Okay, hell awaits. At 9th level, you have a choice to embrace hell or to fight the devil. Choose hell ain't a bad place to be, or to hell with the devil. So you choose one. You get alignment restriction, any except do-gooder, fiendish resilience, 1 damage type resistance until the following day, each day, so that's good. And then damage increases by 1d8 for all hell let loose. Or you can renounce the devil, get any alignment except for wicked, and get like protection from evil, and then 1d8 radiant for all hell let loose. So yeah, this is kind of like some of these are obviously the title, the title to metal songs, and some of them are just words, I think. Yeah, this is just a combination between a paladin and a warlock, and I kind of like it. The High Sorcerer. Magic smoke takes your spells higher. Wizard's Leaf hasn't slowed your mind. Just what we need is the Stoner Wizard. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna skim the rest. This art though, man. Some of this art is really great, and then I don't want to say great. Some of it's interesting, and then some of it's like this. Okay, you do not need to prepare your spells in advance if you have Wizard's Leaf. When you are without Wizard's Leaf, you must study your spellbook. So they act like a wizard. They act like a sorcerer when they're high. Okay. Too high to get it right. So you act like a sorcerer, except you get effectively a wild surge on occasion. That's okay. So the Jack is kind of your combination rogue / bard. Yep, this is all rogue stuff, sneak attack, etc. You get a bonus while wearing leather or studded leather to attack. That's weird, but I think it kind of fits. Breaking the law. As a downtime activity between adventurers, if you're in a medium-sized town or larger, you can make deals with the underworld contacts. Spend 1 week and roll 1 d20 on the breaking the law table, and then take your pick. So you can find loot. You can engage in various activities. I kind of like that. It basically adds carousing as a class feature, and I kind of like that. A wild card. Pick a lucky number between 1 and 20. Every time you roll that number on a d20, you earn 1 wild card die. A wild card die gives you 1d6 bonus you can add to any roll. Kind of like that too. That's interesting. Although I can imagine it would be a pain to keep track of. All right, look, I'm just gonna browse through this for the rest, because otherwise the entire stream tonight is just gonna be on this one product. Mad Axe is your barbarian. You get insanity points to fuel things. Shirtless. Armor is for sane people who fear battle and feel pain. If you're not wearing any armor, your armor class equals 13 plus your dex. That's funny. Shifter, you get to be a werewolf. Or a were other thing. Rat salad. You can turn into a rat. Dogs of War, of course. Bark at the Moon, of course. Got me some Aussie right there. Some kind of monster. Cat Scratch Fever, of course. I don't know. I kind of like that. I kind of like that as a substitute for Druid. Alright. What's next? Is the Slayer. And of course their capstone ability is, or one of their capstone abilities is raining blood, of course. Yeah, they're just ranged. They're just ranged attacks, and they're ranged, or actually not. They're all not just ranged. They're just a striker. They've got either magic, ranged attacks, or direct melee attacks that deal additional damage, have additional effects. That's not bad. The Trooper. Got that train running through. All right, so let's just skip ahead. Let's take a look at the feats. Uh, feats are they're okay. Some of them are straightforward. You have advantage on saving throws against poison and disease. Your threat range for critical hits is 19 to 20. You gain +1 attack and damage bonus with bladed weapons. These kind of things. So they're actually simpler than 5th edition feats in most instances, except for when they're not, like Runesmith. They seem to be kind of a split between 4th and 5th edition feats. Alright. Equipment is pretty much the same, except they give you the splintered shield option, which a lot of places have, which basically lets you disperse your shield to negate a critical, which I kind of like that idea. This is just your standard equipment list. They do have black powder weapons for firearm-based stuff. Standard equipment list. Standard equipment. Some magic items, a very limited amount of magic items, but necessarily ones that are the most useful. Poisons, then adventuring. Is your basic adventuring material stuff. It's all this. This is all just 5th edition stuff. I'm not seeing much in the way of differential. Although they did negate it down just to just one rest, so there's no short and long rest. They're just resting, and it takes 24 hours. Here's your downtime stuff, which is interesting. Man, they do more stuff about the downtime than they do about than they do in the core rule 5th edition rules. And it's all like it's all like stuff like rock stars would do. Buy something expensive, dabble in politics, go on a bender, hire roadies. Okay. Go to rehab. Don't need to know this. Is just your rules summary. I'm just going to skip this. There's this apparently an insanity mechanic. I'm going to have to skip that because I'm running short on time. Spell list is truncated because it only goes to 5th level, and it looks like everything's been renamed and narrowed down. So there are no cantrips, but there are 0th level spells. Okay then. Spiritual healing is just cure wounds. Revelations is augury. Vomit death is a stream of acid. So there's some of it that's just renamed and some of it that's changed. And a lot of it just looks to be like either metal lyrics or metal song names. Alright. Like a rainbow in the dark. And it's specifically like in a different font because they couldn't figure out how to do rainbow font except on a black background. Okay. Well, they do have sidekicks rules, which is something I really haven't looked at a lot from Tasha's, but I like the idea of it, so there is that. And then there's quirks that you can take that they don't really have any effect. It's just interesting to flesh things out. All right, well, this has been What Lies Below, the RPG Metal Opera. Aside from that really irritating start, it's not a bad product. It needs a little balancing. I feel like it could do with a little balancing all the way through. It's not a bad product. I kind of like it. So yeah, again, I've got the link in the chat, and I'll try to put it in the description for those who are watching this afterwards. And I've only got a few viewers right now, I know. These things usually get more views afterwards. And let's take a look at what's next. The other 5th edition thing I selected, Ghosts in the Graveyard. I got a sneaking suspicion there's a lot of really big products in here that I'm probably going to have to skip some of them. Ghosts in the Graveyard. Okay, only 7 pages. 5th edition compatible. Oh my god, what the fuck is that supposed to be? What is that, Play-Doh? Nice attempt, I guess. So it looks like something off a Tool album or something. Or a Tool video, not an album. Old school Tool, at least. Ghosts in the Graveyard, a mini adventure for level 5 characters from Nesnock Speaks. I will put the link in the chat. It is a pay-what-you-want product. At least I think it is. I need to start verifying these things, because last time I did one of these, it had been so long since I got some of the earlier ones that some of them had changed to not pay what you want anymore. It was funny. Okay, Ghosts in the Graveyard from Nisnock Speaks. Let's take a look at this one, shall we? A mini adventure for level 5 characters. Words. William Fisher. It's called... This is like the 5th product I've seen use words. No, it's called like author or designer or both, not just words. It degrades the whole idea of design/authorship. Anyway, those who disturb the dead rarely rest in peace. When a graveyard robber is buried in the very cemetery he once looted, his victim's souls return for vengeance. To make the ghosts that haunt the graveyard to rest, the heroes must battle the graveyard robber's wicked soul and recover his ill-gotten fortune. It's a mini-adventure for 4 to 5 characters of 5th level, designed to be played in a single session. In life, Gabriel Valcori was a successful businessman, famed throughout the city for his wealth and generosity. Unbeknownst to his admirers, however, the merchant began his career by robbing graves, a vice he continued even after securing his vast fortune. Valcori's crimes remained undiscovered while he lived, but upon his death, the merchant was buried in the very graveyard he once robbed. The final outrage has driven Valcori's victims to return as restless spirits. Okay, so you get to explore a haunted graveyard. 3 ghosts approach you. The restless spirits search for the possessions Valcori stole and become hostile unless the party promises to help them. So they're basically like, help us or we'll haunt you. Assumes the characters have been hired to investigate the recent hauntings. If the characters need more incentive, perhaps an item the party seeks to be rumored to be in the graveyard. This item may have belonged to one of Valcori's victims. If the party's morals are questionable, the characters may seek to simply plunder Valcori's crypt, which is said to be filled with riches he accumulated in life. I like that. It gives you several hooks. Adventure start. You arrive at the haunted graveyard direct. The graveyard has not been tended since the hauntings began, and waist-high weeds cover the path that winds amongst the graves. Valcori's crypt occupies the center of the graveyard. Do we have a map? We do not have a map of the graveyard. We just have a map of the crypt. And it looks like a Dyson Logos stock map. And there's nothing wrong with that. I like Dyson Logos' stuff. Let me take a look. Is it cartography? Dyson Logos right there. I like Dyson Logos maps. I really do. But the only problem with these stock maps is that you start seeing them in multiple adventures, at least the better ones. I don't think I've seen this one. But I know I was looking at a few adventures a while back, and it had like 2 in a row use the same map, and I was like, I didn't want to mention it at the time, but I obviously noticed it. Okay, so we got Restless Spirit, Catalina and Giovanni. The party meets the spectral form of a human woman wandering amongst the graves. They're searching for her missing locket, the keepsake buried with her when she died. She explains the locket was a gift from her parents and is quite precious to her. Years ago, a wealthy merchant named Gabriel Valcori even offered to buy the locket. The same one that was the grave robber. But she refused. She can't imagine where the locket might be. It got stolen. Despite the party's best efforts, the locket is nowhere to be found. Once the hunt proves fruitless, she insists someone must have stolen her locket, perhaps even adventurers themselves. To convince Catalina they did not take her locket, they must make a charisma check. On failure, then you get attacked by a ghost. Okay. Arcos the Ageless. Atop a nearby rise, a human man wielding a shovel works to uncover a grave. A hound circles the man nervously as he digs. Unlike Catalina, both the mound and his hound seek corporal. The man's name is Pietro, and he is, in fact, still alive. Before the hauntings began, Pietro served as the graveyard's caretaker. But now the ghost of another of Valcori's victim, an elven sage named Arcos the Ageless, possesses him. Arcos has commandeered Pietro's body to search for his beloved pet, a cat named Oro, whom he's digging up graves to find. If they speak with Arcos, the sage claims that he arranged to have Oro's remains dipped in gold and buried with him. Jesus Christ, okay. That's why. Alright. I have to wonder, like, if the characters speak with Arcos, the sage explains that he arranged to have Oro's remains dipped in gold and buried with him when he died. Did he pre-decease the pet, or did he post-decease the pet? because I could see that turning out really wrong. If the characters speak with Arcos, okay, after such an expense, he's unwilling to rest until he finds his pet. Yeah, I'll bet. I bet this dude cares more about the gold than the pet. Adventurers who make a successful wisdom insight check note that Arcos' speech is more sophisticated than of the lowly caretaker. Furthermore, a wisdom handling check reveals that Pietro's loyal hound, a master named Caesar, seems nervous. If they talk with Caesar, the confused animal confirms that, yeah, his voice is not his own. That there, and this is a very brief adventure, so I'm going to go through it real quick. But that there, including what the party can learn by using a speak with animal spell on a pet, is a nice touch. I wish more adventurers would just make a little note of that. If the characters demand he release Pietro, he attacks while he possesses the caretaker. Treat Arcos as a berserker armed with a shovel. Arcos scoffs at the suggestion he is an upstanding citizen like Valkyrie robbed his grave. However, if the characters free Pietro, the caretaker says he often witnessed Valkyrie skulking around the graveyard. So how do you free him? It does not tell you how you free him. Like, it straight up it doesn't tell you how to free him right here, and yet it gives you the result of if he's freed. So I'm presuming something like protection from evil or something. Who knows? Bruno Montanari gets the ghost of a human man materialized before him. In one hand, he wields a wicked-looking blade. Other hand is not only empty, but missing, apparently having been severed at the wrist. Valkyrie would hire thugs such as Bruno Montanari to do his dirty work for him. Unlike his master, Bruno is eventually caught and even lost a hand for his crimes. By his punishment, he never revealed to Valkyrie's secret. The merchant rewarded Bruno's loyalty by replacing his hand with a prosthetic made of mithril. He died years later, only to have his replacement hand stolen by the man who gave it to him. Owned. Let that man sit there and haunt that place. Losing his hand twice made him mad. You'd have to do a DC 19 persuasion check. Damn. Then Valkyrie's Crypt is a standard dungeon crawl. You got a wraith up. You got a wraith if they disturb his grave. You can kill the wraith. There's traps. Looks like a pretty standard trap for the level. Is this just a... No, it's a 8 room dungeon. Storage room. And it's got, what? 10-foot poles and a key on a peg. Okay. The pit is another trap, it looks like. Yeah, it's got a 30-foot deep. That's another trap. Sliding walls, another trap. Damn, like almost every room in that place is trapped. You got an illusionary coffer that is also trapped. Oh my god, this is like Trap the Dungeon. And then a locked treasure chamber with the goal of with like everything that you need to put the ghost to rest. Fairly straightforward, standard little adventure. I think the ghosts are interesting NPCs. The dungeon could use a little work, but it's not bad for stock dungeon. I think it's okay. It's rated at 3 stars right now on Drive-Thru-RPG. I think I would put it at like 3.5, but they don't allow halves on our Drive-Thru-RPG, and I don't think it quite reaches 4 star. It's not. The editing is okay. I didn't see anything. Nothing jumped out as bad editing. I wish this dude used author instead of words because he really deserves it, because it's actually a pretty decent adventure. All right. That was the 5th edition stuff. Now let's move on to the OSR stuff. I don't know how long I've got to be. I've got like a dozen more of these. I am not going to be up here till like 1 in the morning. And it is like coming up on 11:30 right now. So we'll see what happens. Next one is the Scout class. This is an OSR class. I'm just going to outright skip some of these eventually, or I'll breeze through these. But let's take a look at the Scout class for OSR role-playing games. I like the cover art. It's just 7 pages. You've got 1d8 cleric attack table, saving throws as fighter. That actually seems a little bit on the strong side, but yeah, well, let's do that. Armor allowed, leather, padded hide, stud leather, and elven chain only. So basically light armor. That's basically your rogue armor set. Actually, it's a little better than rogue, because I don't think rogues can wear hide in core OSR stuff. Buckler only, as shield, weapon allowed, any one-handed weapon less than 3 feet in length, sling, any bow. So, that's basically rogue weapons again. Poison and oil, yes. Weapon proficiency, non-weapon proficiency. Yeah, this is OSR based, I guess. Yeah, this is Osric / first edition based. Alright, so if it's first edition based, then that cleric attack and saving throws fighter isn't quite as bad as isn't quite as powerful as I thought. Experience is on par with rogues. They can use one melee action, get an accurate count of the number of opponents in a group. So boom, and you tell them the group dynamics of what they're facing, as well as their race and basic class category, or categories. Starting at 5th level, scouts can tell by looking at someone their exact class, which is interesting, very meta for old school stuff, but useful. 5th level scout, the studies group for a melee round can accurately guess the relative level of each person in the level group, which is more useful than you'd think, especially in OSR stuff. It just divides them into low, mid, or high level. Okay. Scouts can automatically detect magic when they see it at a rate of 25 plus 5% per experience level. That was a skill that Thieves got in like late 2nd edition. It was like an optional one, as well as detect illusion. I don't have a problem with those. Back protection, they have a 5% chance per level detecting and counting any attempt to backstab them. So they're not immune to backstabs, but they've got a chance to negate it. Identification of magic items. So they got like the Bard's ID, except like better than Bard's, except it scales up worse. So they've got like a 2nd edition style Bardic knowledge thing. I kind of like the fact that it starts out higher, because low-level bards trying to identify something in 2nd edition really just can't do anything. And then they get outdoor tracking, similar to Rangers, except like 1st edition style Rangers. But then they also get thief abilities. Abilities act. Where's my thief thing? Give me my thief. There we go. Thief level progression. Thief skills. They advance faster than the Labyrinth Lord ones. They'll get pickpockets. They advance a little bit faster than the Labyrinth Lord ones. How do they compare with base 1st edition ones? I said I would not spend a lot of time on these, but I'm spending a lot of time on this one. Sorry about that. It piqued my curiosity. Thief. Where's a thief? Come on, give me my thief. My thief skills. No, they advance like 1st edition, and I'm presuming in Osric as a follow-up. I don't have my Osric book on hand, or I would have taken a look. Yeah, I say I don't have my Osric book on hand, and it's like right on hand. Go figure. Yeah, so it's 1st edition / Osric all the way. No, that's cool. That's cool. That's a balanced class. I like that class. That was the Scout class from God knows who. Hold on a second. That was a Scout class from Sefner Games LLC, who, I might add, Sefner Games has a number of OSR classes. I just picked one just to see how it was, but they've got several out there. So that one was actually, I thought, well balanced. Next is the Cat and the Resurrection. It is a DCC RPG third-party compatible offering. Let me put it in. Oh, it says it's free. Let me see if it's free real quick. I gotta double check this stuff just in case they made it not free anymore. It is indeed free, although you can pay for a soft cover or a in black and white. So this is from Tasaka Games. Again, it is it's rated 3 stars on Drive-Thru RPG. Let's see if it's worth that. It is 60 pages. I'm not going through the whole thing. I'm just going to scan it. The art, I like the cover design. They could have got a better... I like amateurish art, but it also detracts from the look of things unless you do it real well. And the reason I like amateurish art and stuff like this is because it reminds me of old school D&D covers before like the early 80s when they started getting like Easily and places people like that. But like there was a phase before that in the late 70s where it was this kind of thing. But unless it's as well defined, like if they had thicker lines to make it a more cartoony style, that would be a little bit better in my opinion, but that's okay. Anyway, my mild gripe there, Mr. Wu was no ordinary cat. He was an extraordinary cat. In fact, you could say he was a genius level cat. When Mr. Mu's beloved owner, Mrs. Winworth, was on her deathbed, succumbing to old age, Mr. Mu came up with a plan. He summoned a mysterious woman dressed entirely in black to the village of Greenleaf to resurrect his beloved Mrs. Winworth when she passed. The woman in black performed a mysterious ritual at the deathbed of his dying owner. At Mrs. Winworth's funeral, the outcome of the ritual unfolded. Mrs. Winworth's coffin opened, her body levitated above the ground. In a state of excitement, Mr. Mu jumped on the pulpit and said, "Mrs. Winworth, my best friend, I have brought you back from the dead. Oh, rise, my beloved Mrs. Winworth. Rise from the darkness and return to the world of the living." However, Mr. Mu was deceived. He witnessed the levitating body burst into flame and ash. The ritual the woman in black performed at Mrs. Winworth's deathbed was not a resurrection ritual. Instead, it was a ritual to trap the village on Greenleaf in a pocket dimension. Alright, so, that was weird. So basically you gotta track down the woman in black. Gonna scan this real quick. It looks relatively well developed, 60 pages. You've got, oh my god. Like I can't even comment on the map is obviously by the same, on the same type as the intro. I can't do better hand drawn than that, so I can't really say much. It's not too bad. It gets the job done. These hills are a little wonky. But that's a marsh? I thought that was like a peanut. Gong Farmer's Lair. I guess the job done. It gets the job done. Alright. That gives you the introduction. It's for level 6 to... No, it's level 2 party of 6 to 10 characters, which might seem huge, but it's about on par for DCC RPG. Village of Greenleaf. Ah. Is this done in like Campaign Cartographer or something? It seems a little too blocky for that. It's a village. Oh no! Oh no, I'm doing a flip. Okay, there we go. They got the village of Greenleaf. The village of Greenleaf, and they... so I did find a typo earlier where it said the village on Greenleaf. Consists of 3 parts. Part 1 involves the characters moving into a new home, establishing a permanent residence in Greenleaf. Through the process of moving and furnishing their new home, the characters, through their interactions with the village, will soon learn more about Mrs. Winworth and her mysterious cat. Beneath the giant's head? Hold on. The Cat in the Resurrection builds on the events, Fantastic Adventures and the Disgruntled Gong Farmer and Beneath the Giant's Head. So there are 2 other adventures before this one. I'm presuming level 0 and level 1. Because that's how DCC RPG works. A few hundred villagers. There's Miss Winworth and her cat. Mrs. Winworth is a witch and Mr. Moo is her familiar. This explains why she looks like an old crone. That's terrible! She's like a classic witch. Like an evil witch. The Happy Halfling Tavern. And these maps just ain't doing it for me. Better than what I do, but this ain't doing it for me. Here's your background on all the characters. You got character art. So you get a new house. You have purchased the house at the end of the prior adventure. Mayor Kim allows the character to stay in the house rent-free if they rent it. There's the main house. There's the floor plan for your house for your entire group. Doesn't even have interior plumbing. So then they look into the history of the new home. You actually have... Oh my god. They must explore their new home, which has a giant attic spider in it and a mummified halfling. That's terrible. You've got a mummified halfling in the attic of the house that you just purchased. Kind of funny though, actually. That's like, let's be real here. I would do that to my party if I didn't gloss over most of their housing things. I would totally put like a mummified body in one of the houses that they bought. And then like, or like what I do is like I'd play up like a random building inspector, and he's like, oh man, I looked this house over head to toe, nothing wrong with it at all, and then put the body in it. And then when they try to confront the building inspector, he'd be like, that must have been there after I looked at it. And make it like really obvious that like he never looked at it. Alright. So you've got a doll that you find in your house that you can give to Anna McDuff to trigger an event number 4, which is down here. So if asked about Ms. Winworth, okay, the event after you've cleared your house, which gives you a little bit of treasure. Oh my god! In the outhouse, there are vine monsters. So like imagine, if you will, you just bought this house as a party. You go in there, you find a mummified corpse in the attic with a giant spider. And then one of you goes, oh, it's all clear. And you go to use the outhouse. And there is a... Where is it? There is a vine monster with 3 hit dice. Mind you, this is for second level characters. So you got a 3 hit die vine monster hidden in the toilet. It's assuming that the party inspects it and doesn't just sit down and use it. You could end someone rightly with that. Oh my god. That would be a horrible way to do someone in. Oh. I'm going to have to take that to use it sometime. Alright, events. Mert in the general store. Mert has knowledge that Mr. Moo talks. He's the general store owner. He gives you background on everything. Event 2 is Honey and her honey buns. It's a halfling. Comes by with a housewarming gift, hopefully after you've decided what to do with the dude that got ate by the toilet. Then she is basically a gossip, has things that she tells you. Thomar and Julicia Winworth drops by the character's house with a housewarming gift, and it's just food, hiring Otis McGuff for repairs. You can hire a handyman to repair your new house, which you're going to need after somebody gets dragged to their doom in the toilet. Anna comes with him. You give her the doll, and she says thank you and gives a permanent increase to luck score. Okay. That's a special little girl right there. It's got some wholesome events. This is kind of like a semi-wholesome adventure. Aside from getting dragged to, aside from the mummified halfling in the attic and getting dragged to your doom in a toilet, this is actually not a. This is a very wholesome style of adventure. Farmer Grub and the Killer Chickens. He's been feeding his chickens experimental chicken feed, and now they attack everybody and go loose in the village. Okay. Anyway. So these are just event worth, and then Miss Wentworth dies, and then you face the main issue where mist creatures bust forth, village becomes haunted, and then you have to find out how to access this entity's lair, and it's a dungeon crawl, and it is a very I'm not sure I like this dungeon crawl layout. It's like a roguelike. Aside from that, it's okay. I'm just going to breeze through the rest. This is a very standard second level dungeon. There's some weird stuff in it, but nothing really unruly. What is it with this adventure and dragging people underground with plants? This time with a pool. Sir Eckert Silverblade entered the Black Woman's lair in order to defeat her. And now all of his retainers except for 2 are dead. And I'm presuming that these people can join you. Yeah, he joins you. All right. And then you kill her and free the village. So it's okay. I mean, I saw a few typos here and there. It's really goofy in parts and really wholesome in other parts. It's okay. It's kind of adventure I would run for, like, maybe not necessarily like young kids, but like kids, you know? Not like small kids, but like middle range kids. This is the kind of adventure I would run for them. You know, if I was inclined to run adventures for kids, which I'm not. I could see this as the kind of thing that kids would like. That's been The Cat and the Resurrection, a DCC RPG module. It's actually really good to see third-party DCC modules. Oh my god, it's already like, yeah, it's getting on in time. Let's go to the next one already. Desolation of the God King. The hell is this? Have I bit off more than I could chew tonight? Tales of Red Ruin, Desolation of the God King, a solo adventure for the Dragon Warriors RPG. It's a 134-page adventure. I'm going to link it, but I'm only going to, like, scan it. I am not going to, like, do an in-depth look through on this. It is Desolation of the God King. I've looked at some of this stuff before. I remember it being, like, decent, but not standout from Red Ruin. Dragon Warriors is a specific OSR style adventure. I'm just going to breeze through it, and then we'll move on to the next one, because that's a lot of pages for probably very little payoff. Your character design for 5th rank characters. I'm presuming that's level, professions, or classes. During the adventure, some sections may ask if you're playing a fighter or a wizard. Fighters are knights and barbarians. Wizards are basically wizards. This tells me that it was probably initially written up for another system and then converted to this at the last moment. It is a solo adventure, so let's just take a look. There's hints and tips. Got your background. And since it's a solo adventure, it's more like a choose-your-own-adventure book, which explains why it's 134 pages. Because you basically, like, here, and you're presented with a choice. You got your background, and then looking around, you see that you're on the western side of a shallow depression in the landscape. To the west, the land drops off down a cliff, and you can see the sea below you. A narrow path leads down to the shore, and there appears to be a shipwreck of some sort on the beach. To the east, you can see, just about make out some variation in the landscape. Is that a tower of black rock in the distance? There is no sign of the glittering oval portal that you passed through. So having no way of knowing where you are, you will have to explore the area. Will you make your way down the path to investigate the shipwreck? Turn to page 176, or head in the direction of the tower. Turn to page 85. Walking across the sand, you are reminded of tales from crusaders who said that far to the south of your homeland there are vast deserts. The heat makes your tower appear to shimmer in the distance. You must shade your eyes to avoid the glare. Will you go over and have a look? Turn to 155 or continue on your way. You're having a look. As you get closer, you see that the mount and the rider are not moving. The mount is a strange thing, slightly bigger than the horse, etc. If you want to approach more closely, turn to 116. Both mount and rider are dead, it seems. There's no sign of blood, but nor are there signs of decay or corpse-feeding insects. The rider is a dark-skinned man wearing a white tabard. If you want, you can take the cloth and wear it around your head. Note that you have a headscarf. Tucked into his belt and surprisingly free from corrosion, there's a curved dagger, D-Force 3, which I'm presuming is the damage and whatnot. I'm wondering what other strange things you might encounter. You continue on your way. So it goes on like that. It is a solo, like, choose-your-own-adventure type thing first. Let me go ahead and keep popping through here until I see if I get, like, a combat. Risk my hand in. Got a small 3 green gem. Archway to the north. Go ahead to the north. We'll go back to 52. I'm going to lie and say that I've got the stuff. I'll go to the archway to the west. Is there any like combat in this game? To the east. Make extended search of the area. 33. You get armor. Precision room to 22. Let's go to the altar on 27. Remove the top. And here we go. First combat. So it gives you the base things, and I'm presuming, and you fight them one at a time. So it's using core rules that are not included in this, that are in a separate product, and it's very much like a fighting fantasy style thing. Yeah, that is Desolation of the God King. It is. I'm not going to go through it because it is basically a book. It is a solo game book. I like them. I didn't see anything outstanding in there, but the writing that I was breezing through was well done. It was competent. I want to make a game book myself at some point. And what I was trying to think about doing, this was long ago, was I was thinking about doing like a game book, except also put together like a series of videos and like link the videos like a game book. And it's a project that I've had like in the back of my mind I should try sometime. The only problem is that it's real hard to link videos now on YouTube, or at least more than 1 or 2. So like everything would have to be like a 2, maybe a 3, maybe a 3 link thing. So that might be interesting. I know that the person that produced the Desolation of the God King has a number of game books out, so that may be interesting. All right, here is the Shattered Tower of Grimlu. Also, I wonder how that got in my OSR thing when that was clearly not an OSR product. Anyway, this is Shattered Tower of Grimlu. Again, I'm only going to breeze through it, even though it's only 32 pages. It is a pay-what-you-want product. It's from Joseph Moore. I've read some of Joseph Moore's stuff. They tend to be short on details, but otherwise relatively well done. This one's an Osric adventure. And known for years to be an eccentric old fellow, he built his great tower overlooking the village of Belid crossings in the nearby river. He spent very little time in the village. Most of his days were spent in research and conducting his experiments. On occasion, these experiments caused massive explosions, terrifying the villagers and their livestock. Having a wizard living nearby, however, has its advantages. The Bloody-Fist Orc tribe steered clear after the village after Grimlov arrived. So did the Skull Splitter goblins. None of the nearby raiders wanted any part of the magic that Grimlov wielded. Then one day, there was a massive explosion in Grimlov's tower. The wizard has not been seen since that day 9 months ago. Recently, however, there have been signs of activity from the tower. Flying creatures have been seen landing on the platform at the top of the tower. Smoke has been seen rising from the tallest spire. Perhaps the wizard has returned, or perhaps someone else has moved in. For 6 to 10 characters of the 3rd to 5th level, a good mix of abilities are suggested. No specific classes are required, which is good. That's a good lead-in. What did they say? 3 to 5th level? Okay, 3 to 5th level. It's kind of mentally calibrating everything here. Give me a second. I got to set something real quick. I will set that at. No, I will go ahead and mark it out. Boom. Sorry about that. I was dealing with something. All right, for the Dungeon Master. The Village of Melid Crossings. Do we have any maps? I gotta have my maps. Oh, I love these maps. I mean, they're chonky, but some effort went into them. Is this just is this one like another Dice and Logos one? Where's the credits? Cartography was produced by Dice and Logos. Again with the Dice and Logos stuff. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love that. I've seen this tower outline in another adventure. Or something very similar to it. I don't know if these are stock. They may be custom, but I've seen something very similar to this tower outline in another adventure. And this is just what? How many rooms? This is 30 rooms. So you just go in, it gives you a key to the Melid Crossing, so you've got like a base of operations. And they do have a healer in town that can go all the way up. They can't raise dead, but they can deal with everything else. Why did I just do that? Can I undo that? Yeah, so they don't have a res capable person, but they can do a lot of other things. Yeah, my groups know what not having a res capable person in town feels like. I'm sorry to say. All right. As the way in the tower seems to be blocked from the first puzzle, the adventurers need to solve is how to get in. There are dangers to climbing the tower. A higher level thief might succeed where the other one failed. If there's a grappling hook, you can fly if the party has the means to do so. They are level 3 to 5. At the high end, they can cast fly. Teleport if the party has the means to do so. They'd have to use a scroll. Pass wall, yeah, that's right out for that class level, for that level of party. There's some entry points around the bottom, basically holes blasted out. Random encounters include a gargoyle, giant rats, a pseudo dragon, and just random water. So that is a wide range. Considering Zix, it may not necessarily be hostile. That gargoyle can wreck a party's day of that level, unless they've got magic weapons, which they probably should have at this point. All right. There's a door that answers. Oh, this riddle. The door seems to be made out of solid oak. The door has an invisible wall of force in front of it, preventing anyone from even touching the door. Words in the common tongue are carved into the door frame. I go through a door, but never go in, and never come out. What am I? A keyhole. I would never have guessed that. I hate riddles because I'm terrible at them. That's why I never put them in my, or so I rarely put them in my adventures. If the proper answer is given, the force wall will drop. If the wrong answer is given, the door is gone and you're SOL. Alright, suit of armor is fine decorative. Okay, so you've got, immediately you've got some loot. You've got secret panel with A ring of protection against a very specific creature in the same thing. This ring is specific to the Stone Guardian in Area 3. I'm looking at Area 3, but there's no Stone Guardian listed in there. So I've got to presume that that meant Area 6. Already I found an error, because the Stone Guardian is in Area 6, not 3. There's a portrait. Must save or be teleported 1 mile in a random direction. I do love traps like that. A white pedestal about 3 foot tall stands in the area of the room. There's a ring that's just a fake room protected by a wall of, or fake ring protected by a wall of force. That is funny. That is so funny. Have your party spend all kinds of resources trying to get to it. The pedestal has 3 knobs, 6 buttons, and 4 levers. Regardless of which are pushed, pulled, or turned, the effect is random and all bad. Use the following table to determine the effect. This is the kind of thing I love. There's no good answer for this particular puzzle/trap. It's completely arbitrary, completely random, and can really mess your party up. Landing, that's where the Stone Guardian is. I guess it's in number 3 because the 3 is the stairs to the second level, and then 6 is the landing. So I guess I can I can let it slide this time. Dining room gives you a hidden scroll and a hidden wand. You have to search for them though. The den has a big tapestry worth money. Not a lot of combat in this bottom, I say as I look at the bedroom. It has a named dimension spider, which I'm assuming is a phase spider. Kind of. Yeah, it uses dimension door ability. It's basically a phase spider with the serial numbers filed off. You got another scroll. This one a druid scroll with some good druid spells. There's a potential gem that they have to search for in the kitchen. Then random rats, which are you're fighting like Stone Guardians, which have like 4+ hit dice, hit pretty hard, although not terribly hard, have special defenses, and then you just got like rats. Gotta love old school adventures like that. Rot grubs. Rot grubs are horrific. They're like horrific enough that I don't put them in like almost any of my adventures, even though I'm familiar with them. I like the idea of them, but I feel like they're a little bit fast acting. Basically, they're little worms that if they get on you, they eat through your flesh and then kill you if they reach your heart. Oh God! All right. So the combats in this are few and far between. There's a mimic in there, but he's non-hostile. And you can question him for stuff he knows. That is amusing. There's Zix, the pseudo-dragon. Again, he's not hostile. He's an NPC that you can ask for stuff. So far, there's not much in the way of combat, which is nice. There is a lot of hidden stuff. Hidden treasure. There's some caryatid columns. They activate only under the following circumstances. Someone attempts to enter the tower by the way of the platform, or someone attempts to go up the stairs, or before the blast down the stairs. So they're guardians, basically. And you can avoid them if you don't want to fight them to the death, because they will not follow you. That's nice. I think this is well designed so far. I came in here expecting a pretty standard dungeon crawl, and what I'm getting is a pretty standard dungeon crawl. I mean, I can't complain. Glass sphere has a captured air elemental, but it is, in a sphere, so it will not attack unless it's freed. You got a treasure chamber with some decent magic item, some spell scrolls, and a figurine of wondrous power that's a centaur. That's gotta be rough. Most figurines of wondrous power are just like animals. I wonder if since it's a centaur, if he gets bored. Like if he just gets bored being in statuette form. Got some more scrolls. I got a lot of scrolls in this one. I need to get more scrolls out in my adventures. I started giving out more potions, and now my party doesn't use. Now my players rarely use them because they got so used to me not giving out potions. But I need to give out more scrolls. It's got, you get more scrolls. You got rubble that can give you random items found, some of which are pretty decent. The former apprentice, a young wizard named Dramu, has taken up residence in the tower. He was a former apprentice of Grimlov, but was expelled from the tower when Grimlov discovered his evil nature. Some of Dramu's more creative experiments involved captured villagers and dark sacrifices. Grimlov was not pleased and banished him from the place. He returned here when he heard about Grimlov's disappearance. He has been searching for his former master's spellbook to steal it. He has been unsuccessful so far. So there we go. Looks like a level 6 magic user and 2 gargoyles. That is a rough fight. So now granted, if the party got this far, they can deal with it because there's not many fights in this particular adventure. But that's a rough fight, no joke. There's a guest room, there's a high balcony. Grimlov is trapped in interdimensional space. Yeah, I love figurines of Wondrous Power. Dude, I just gave a figurine of Wondrous Power to my Blackridge Barony group a couple adventures past. Except it's a homemade one, and that game has like a dark fantasy feel. So it's not just a figurine of Wondrous Power. It's like basically like a Cthulhu Byaku kind of thing, where it's like it's a winged octopus, and it's just a giant octopus with a fly speed, right? But it's super creepy, so they haven't used it yet. And they look at it, and it's just like this octopus with like feet and wings, and so nobody's activated it yet. But if they activate it, they'll get a creature that they can use for about 8 hours to fly around. I think they're concerned that if they activate it, it might grab them and like fly away to the stars with them, because that is the sort of thing I would do. But not this time. It might take them somewhere else, but not to the stars. All right, so they can go ahead and pop Grimlov out of the dimensional space. He can be rescued, and they even show you how, and he will be grateful to his rescuers. So here's my question. If this dude has Detect Evil. This dude has Detect Evil in his spell list. Right? Then how the hell did he not notice his apprentice? His supposed apprentice is what? Let me take a look. His supposed apprentice. Where's Dramu? Is chaotic evil and was sacrificing villagers. This dude had Detect Evil and never bothered to cast it on his own apprentice, who was sacrificing and torturing villagers. What the hell, man? Anyway, yeah, this is The Shattered Tower of Grimlov. It's by Joseph Moore. Joseph Moore does... I've read some of their stuff before. They do very basic but very well executed dungeon crawls. I came into this expecting a basic dungeon crawl, and you know what I got? A basic dungeon crawl. I can't complain. That was The Shattered Tower. I've already got the link in the chat. Next is... Oh, this one's going to be interesting. See if I can even show this. Okay, yeah, I can. Oh, it's compatible with Bright Hammer and other OSR games. It's called The Secret Bastard Dungeon. This is 14 pages. Got nice art up here. I'm liking that line art. It is a pay what you want offering from Monkey's Paw Games. I think I've looked at some of their stuff before. I can't remember if I liked it or not, but the name does ring a bell. So this is a little coffin. It is not for a generic OSR thing, although I think it is roughly compatible with generic OSR stuff. An introductory adventure location for fantasy tabletop adventure games. Suggested for a party of 3 to 4 level 1 adventurers. Suggested rules, the Pink Hack. I feel like this is like, with a name like that. I'll take a look. Pink Hack, put simply, is a personal collection of house rules put forth for use in cannibalization. They named it Pink Hack because it is a melange of Christian Wurstrom's White Hack, which is based on the Black Hack, and Chris McDowell's Into the Odd, which is red, but also mostly because the author likes the color pink for some reason. It's a lightweight, easy to run OSR 2d20 plus d6 role-playing system. I looked at Into the Odd. I finally broke down and looked at Into the Odd. Did not like it. I did not like it. I can understand why people liked it, but it just did not appeal to me. Anyway. Random Adventure Jam. We've got what looks like a very simple adventure flow chart here. Lady Clarissa Colla's Summer Palace. This is just a series of yeah. Oh yeah, this is, I remember now. I thought Monkey's Paws games, their offerings, I thought they were okay, but they were also very simplified. They don't offer any maps. They're just a linked series of events. And I remember not particularly liking that. Now I remember. But we'll go on. You start with a melted golden sarcophagus in what was once a family crypt. Within, stairs spiral downward. The stairs go to a dying elf in a privy pit. Or you can look at the crumbling statue of Lady Cristiola upstairs, which gives you a crawl space beneath the platform, descending downward to the bottom of the well. Beneath room 3. So both ways get you down. You've got a dying elf at the bottom of a well with shattered bones, and they fell to their doom. If found by the PCs, they're quite dehydrated and in shock. Unless magically healed, they will die. And it gives you the option to just loot them or to heal them and bring them on as a hireling. That's actually not a bad way to get hirelings. Cursed sword in a basket, square skulled and dimly lit. What's this? Cursed sword in a basket. That's under the rope in the dying elf. Square skulled and dimly lit torchlight. The wall sconces cast a pallid blue glow on the stone and cause shadows to lurch forbiddingly. There's a 1 in 6 chance that any casket contains a functional sword, the curse blade. Each carries a random curse. That's alright. It's very old school rules light. This is a very narrative-based game, apparently. Remains of a menagerie. I hate this layout, though. And this is just like weird for weirdness' sake in some instances. Remains of a menagerie. Shattered glass crunches underfoot. The air is stale and naturally chill. That's another thing. And I could go on an entire spiel about weirdness for weirdness' sake. There are... one of the big things in the OSR is weird, like weird fantasy, dark weird fantasy. And my review of Deep Carbon Observatory is not out yet for general consumption. It will be next week. That's an old one. But that is very much along those lines, like weird fantasy. And a lot of them fall prey to something that is just weirdness for weirdness' sake. And I appreciate how that got started, but I don't particularly like that. I like having my weirdness like self-consistent. Like it's one thing to make a weird dungeon crawl or a weird adventure with strange and mysterious things that unsettle the players and potentially have odd, uncertain ways about them and give a very supernatural feel, like the world is full of unexplained and unexplainable phenomena. But simply putting lists of weird things in tables and then picking one from each category is lazy. Individually design weirdness that follows a common theme, that is good. But if you're just doing weirdness for weirdness sake, and it's actually one of the minor problems I had with Chalt, and I liked Chalt. Don't get me wrong, I liked Chalt. But it followed that same kind of weirdness for weirdness sake in some areas. Now, Chalt kind of rescued itself by also having like a series of self-confirming and non-contradictory weirdness running throughout. But too many of these things just fall prey to like, okay, we're just going to put weird crap together with no explanation. So it looks less like I guess they're trying to go for like the curio shop kind of thing, where you go into an antique store or curio shop and it's full of like little odds and ends that all have their own stories behind them. But a lot of times it comes off looking less like that and more like just a rummage sale, just like random crap nobody could use, and that doesn't do you any favors. It is a fine line to walk there, and I believe a lot of places fail. Anyway, let's get back into this. And that's just my general critique over weirdness for weirdness sake. I've got a stuffed gnome barbarian, a taxidermy lab with a selection of stuffed humanoids, orcs, dwarves, elves, a faun, all frozen in horror, posed to cower beneath a gnomish figure looming over them, wielding a terrible cold iron mace. Weirdness for weirdness sake here. That would do well in something like Castle Amber or something. But this is just, it kind of doesn't jive. Like all of these weird places, they don't jive with, they don't link to one another. Why is there a bunch of stuffed humanoids in there? You know? So you've got a sacrificial altar with an axe that living beings slain with it resurrect 1d6 hours later as Revenants bound to ever hold the axe. It's actually a really interesting item. Got a portrait of the Duke. This room smells faintly of pipe smoke and aged liquor. Several plush stuffed armchairs and divan are arrayed by the hearth. And then these are just random books. I'm a little bit more forgiving about random book lists because let's face it, nobody is going to write like an entire list of books for a shelf. Mouth-shaped gate. Chamber of the Misbegotten gives you a series of tubes filled with greasy-looking liquid. Half the tubes are empty, the other halves contain desiccated bodies. Most bear a passing resemblance to the Duke, save for the hard malformation of multiplicity of eyes, hooked tentacles, vestigial wings, and strange fleshy protrudences. I gotta guess this is gonna be like a failed clone chamber. And this one... And here's your random encounter and random treasure table at the end. Yeah, I didn't know about that, man. There's another Monkey's Paw Games one. I appreciate what they were trying to do here. Not an adventure for me. But that was Secret Bastard Dungeon. I like the cover art. Really like the cover What's next now? And it is getting late. It is now after midnight for me. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 things left on the list, so I'm halfway done. The gods left it behind. Let's take a look at what's next. The gods left it behind. 19 pages. A Cepheus Engine Adventure, again by Joseph Moore. Again, I'm going to go ahead and just breeze through it since it is a Joseph Moore adventure. We will go through it real quick. Cepheus Engine designed for... is this for like Cepheus Sword and Sorcery type stuff? No, it's... It does use travelers. Alright, so you've got a world with a castle-like structure floating in the sky. An archaeologist approaches the travelers about a proposition. He offers 100,000 credits for the travelers to visit that world with him to explore that castle. You get complications that arise en route. You've got another team that is also after the castle. This is their timeline about where they arrive. So they can arrive before or after the group. And they're a competing archaeology group, which has no compunction about stealing credit or killing anyone who might reveal his deeds. So there's your dirty archaeologist. So this gives me like a almost like sci-fi Indiana Jones feel. I'm liking this already. You've got to get the key to the Island of the Clouds. The Islands of the Clouds. Each island... Let me see. Is there a map? Is there a map? Yes, so this is a traveler / sci-fi adventure, but the premise is like so like just straight up fantasy. I'm kind of loving it. So you've got to go through the islands. I'm just going to skim over it real quick. They're connected by rope bridges, some of which are dangerous. It looks like your main... there's a lot of hazards here, but not much in the way of encounters, so it looks like your main issue is going to be like trying to get to the castle before the other group. And in that case, if the other group didn't get there either a lot behind you or a lot before you, and there's some interaction with them, it looks like there could be a lot of abusing the terrain here, and I kind of love that as well. Large island has a bailey. It's still looking like the main challenge is going to be that other adventuring group. Yeah, all the way through. So this is a dungeon, quote unquote, that is not full of creatures. It does have traps and hazards, but your main competition is the other group. And I kind of love that premise. I want to run a dungeon crawl where like all the dungeon, like the traps are still up, the hazards are still up, the monsters have moved out, but it's you versus like another adventuring group. I want to try that sometime. So yeah, I kind of like that. The gods left it behind. That's a neat one. That's for Cepheus Engine again. Lethally simple old school RPG. This looks like a Heartbreaker RPG. Let's take a look at this. Let's try not to screw all my things up. Lethally simple old school RPG. It's only 5 pages. I'm going to put a link in, although I think we're going to go through this real damn quick. There's 4 basic assumptions with the system: that you have experience with OSR RPG, expect to improvise ruling. All PCs are human. Feel free to homebrew other races if you want to. The PCs are not superhuman. Combat is always dangerous, and armor and shields are too expensive for level 1 character to afford. Magic items are even more precious. The DM both decides how much an item costs. Base mechanics: for every action, roll 1d6. 4 or higher is success. Ideally, situations would be resolved without dice. You wouldn't need to roll dice to kill someone while they're asleep or to light a candle, would you? Fair fighting is for suckers anyway, because if you want to avoid face-to-face fights. If it's an attack roll, then upon success. Upon, that's with a U, not an A. Success, you roll for damage based on your weapon die. Otherwise, you just succeed at whatever you're doing. If you fail an attack roll, you do no damage, and otherwise you fail at whatever you're doing. Character creation is simple stacks. Get your name, pick a single non-combat or magical profession when doing something related to it. So it's very, very bare bones. 1d8 hit points is how much you can take before dying. Pick one of the following weapons. Melee weapon. No need to worry about running out of ammo in combat. Ranged weapon plus 20 ammo, and ammo is a factor. Write down your character's level. Traditionally, you start at level 1. The max is 10. Level up every 1,000 gold piece. 1,000 gold per level you require. That's an okay advancement system. Assuming your GM uses a gold piece level up system, write down both current amount of gold pieces and how much your character has ever had since adventuring. The range tools. The GM can design or use whatever magic items they want upon with a U. Thank you, and please learn proper capitalization is your friend. Thank you very much. I shouldn't give a 5-page RPG this much shit about editing, but get editing done. Thank you. Upon leveling, your PCs roll another 1d8 and adds that to their max hit points. Was this written by like a 12-year-old? This only increases the character's maximum hit point, not their current hit point. God, that's a bare-boned system. It's like not even a system. It works. It works better than some rules-light systems I've seen. I wouldn't exactly call it lethally simple. I don't think I like it. I don't think I like it. Although I will admit, it is more rounded out than some better produced ones I've seen. I will say that. I will say that. Next on the list, Adventuring Base of Operations for free. This one is an OSR base of operations that gives you... Okay, apparently not. It has been taken down. Alright. Well, basically what I saw was a base of operations and adventuring rules, and it's been taken down. That's one of the problems with collecting these things well in advance. All right, next is Von Hyde Manor. This is into the other section, so this is for other rules sections. I do not remember why I selected this. A Gothic Hex of Noble Predation. It's 2 pages. So pay what you want offer. Boom. Link is in the chat. The Von Hins. Oma, the matriarch of the family, everyone listens to her. When in human form, she walks with a cane, but when in wolf form, she's the largest and strongest with gray fur. Appeal to her high upbringing if you want to befriend her. Lucas, a young man and heir to the estate. Violent and impulsive, even when in human form. When in wolf form, he is solid black with piercing yellow eyes. Appeal to his physical prowess if you want to befriend him. Heidi, the middle child, the most beastly of the family. Even in human form, her jaw is distended and snout-like. When in wolf form, she is average sized and has gray fur. Appeal to her looks if you want to befriend her, although why you would, I don't know. Werner, the father, strict and authoritarian. He is always ordering his children around. When in wolf form, he has reddish fur. Appeal to his authority if you want to befriend him. Dora, the mother, a powerful mage in her own right, while also being a werewolf. She enchants the servants of the family who work under her. The servants who work under her family. In her wolf form, her fur is gray and she has piercing yellow eyes. Appear to her luxurious taste if you want to befriend her. And Jacob, the baby. He is far too young to be much of everything except for nobility. Effects on neighboring hexes. The howls can be heard during the night. Anyone versed in nature know they aren't wolf howls. They are far too deep. There are hardly any large prey animals in these hexes. Whenever a creature like that would be encountered, you will find the crushed bones of it instead. So this is just like a hex that you put in a hex crawl. I kind of like the concept. I don't know if I like the execution. Then you put additional encounters into other hexes. And then the manor itself, it's got one of these outline things. So you've got like the grand foyer, the servants' quarters, and then the kitchen, and then the portrait hallway, the dining room, and the greenhouse. And then you've got upstairs that goes to the observatory, Oma's room, Lucas's room, Heidi's room, the master suite, and then Jacob's nursery, all the way in the back because it needs to be protected. All right, so this is very straightforward. It doesn't necessarily have to. This is more an adventure generator than it is like an actual adventure. It's just a place for them to explore. For what it is, it's okay. Yeah, it's okay. Von Hand Banner. I I believe that the people that put this out already have a number of other hexes, and I like the idea of hex crawls, and I do appreciate having just like a list of pre-made hexes that you could throw into those hex crawls. So I do find that it might be interesting to have a few of those. All right, next is Soul Quest. Let me make sure this one's still active. After that last one, I'm not so sure. This is no longer free / pay what you want, so I'm going to skip it. I will have her mention it. Soul Quest is a rules-like gaming system that's set to manage multiple subgenres of science fiction, space opera, golden age, militaristic, pirates in space, near future, science, fantasy, and space exploration. Character generation is straightforward, and actions resolved using a dice pool system. It's a classless game system and based in Earth solar system, the year 2521. It is now $4.99. I'm going to link it. Just keep that in mind. I'm not going to look at it. Because I got other stuff to do, and I want to get done. Next is another one I got to check. This one is still free. Not free. It is pay what you want. It's called Melody for Eternity, Duckelfar. And it is a minimalist role-playing game where you can clandestine, perform assassination, sabotage, and theft missions using your elven abilities. So you are a dark elf. And I guarantee you that somebody's going to give me shit about how I pronounce Duckelfar. I guarantee you. It's only 2 pages. So let's take a look at it. And here's the link. Just pay what you want off it. I like the cover. The cover is pretty neat. This is a dark fantasy RPG about dark elves on clandestine missions. You need a group of mature friends, copies of this game, pencils, and 6-sided dice. One of you will be the spider goddess who sets events and scenarios, creates and roleplays side characters, sets challenges and describes the consequences, while the others will be the elves. The game is best played with 3 to 4 participants. There are some examples of potential power figures with secret interests. So you've got employers, you've got missions. So basically, it just tells you the vague guideline. You've got employers that send you on missions. There are combat tactics that you can use during a fight. When an elf ally dies, every elf thinks a bit of their actions. When dying, choose an option, but in no case do you regain control of your character. You can reincarnate into a spider. You are dragged to hell. You become a cursed ghost. If you have no stain, you may have another chance in a new world. That did I already cover something by Mundos Infinitos? Did I? Alright, some ways to cause pain. So since this only has 2 pages, let's take a look. Objective. You only care about... So this is character creation. You only you select an objective. You can avoid old problems. You look for vices and pleasures. You win the favor of the spider goddess, or you leave the spell world. That basically functions as your character drive. Distrust. You can pick one person in the group that you trust the least. And whenever the marked one does something near you, you will know it. So that kind of drives home the fact that they're all paranoid, a little bit psychotic in that way. The Duckelfar wear dark robes. While you are particularly skilled with all the weapons that require dexterity, you specialize in the one that you always carry with you, and it's basically your character create your chosen weapon. You start with a gold bag, and you can start with 20. You can spend 10 to do actions during the game, which is useful in a game that's based on like heists, basically. You get attributes, but attributes are also skills. So you've got alchemy, cunning, dexterity, enigma, and memory. Didn't I cover one like this that dealt with ghosts instead? Faced with a challenge worthy of a Duckelfar, all protagonists must describe their actions and roll a number of dice. If it is within the realms of ability of an elf, it's 1. If it's an attribute, it's 2. And if that attribute is of one of the magical ones that you selected, you can select up to 2 magical ones. Then you roll 3 dice, and then you keep one of them. So it's not like roll them and add them. You roll them and you keep one of them. And it's got you 1 in 3 failure, so 50-50 failure chance. 4 to 5 triumphs, and then a 6 you not only triumph, but you remember with fear. Or you're remembered as something great. So you automatically perceive everything because you're elves, and elves are like that. Your stain starts at 3. Every time you commit an unforgivable act of extreme cruelty, your immortal essence is tainted, increasing this counter by 1. Upon reaching 6, you are completely consumed by the spider goddess. If your victim is not innocent, your counter does not increase. You can reduce your stain by performing an action of redemption that overcomes your sins. Increase your devotion by 1 each time you take revenge, coerce somebody to do your bidding, discover what's conspiracy against you. Every time your devotion reaches 6, reduce it to 0 and acquire a distortion, which that is basically how you level up. You can unleash your potential, basically getting better at another attribute. You get some magic resistance. You get retractable fangs or multiple legs, multiple eyes. Oh, it's kind of messed up, but it's kind of like fitting all in all. So it's a very simple system. I could see this working for a night, for a night's play. It's thematically cool. I gotta admit, I like this. I wouldn't run it, but I like it. It's not for me, but it's almost for me. This is Melody for Attorney Docklefar from Mundos Infinitos. What can I say, man? It's not complex, and you've got actually some blank space here, so that's nice. Yeah, it says Melody for Eternity. Oh my God! I just closed the wrong window. All right. Give me a second. I messed up. Okay. Oh, messed up. All right. Give me a second. I have my stream open, right? So I can watch to make sure that it's going okay, and so I can read chat. Alright, and I accidentally closed it. I accidentally the whole thing. I meant to do that and close the PDF. I'm getting tired. But fortunately, we are on the last one. And if you have followed my channel, you will remember that I actually reviewed the video game of this a very long time ago. It is an RPG based off a video game. It is officially licensed, and it is available for free from Metal Weave Games. Metal Weave Games is, if I remember, they are solid. They did the baby bestiary stuff, which is like awesome. It's just like books of baby monsters, and it's got the cutest art ever. They've done Awakened, which is a way to play Awakened monsters in 5th edition. So I'm not a fan of all of their stuff, but they've got some good stuff. So this is Metal Weave Games. And I'll put the link in the chat. And I'll open it up. If I can, there we go. This is Hyper Light Drifter, the tabletop role-playing game. Basic rules, which implies that there's going to be more complex rules. Hyper Light Drifter, for those who don't know, was like a 2D top-down Souls-like, I guess, kind of. I enjoyed it, but it was a little bit difficult for me. Yeah, insert your games journalist joke here, but it was like genuinely difficult when I was playing it. If I understand that they actually tweaked it a little bit later on to make it slightly less difficult. There's 135 pages on how to play Hyper Light Drifter on tabletop. I'm mostly interested in this because I want to know how you turn an action-based RPG into a tabletop game. So it's developed by Andreas Walters. It's got... it was done by Kickstarter backers. Published by Metalweave Games. This is the art style from the game. Echoes of a dark and violent past resonate across a torn and sundered landscape. Venturing outside the sanctuary reveals a savage land, steeped in ancient lore, blood of the unlucky, and treasures of old. Around every corner lurks danger, from the vicious and warped creatures to the hidden hazards that will crush the unwary. You are a drifter, one who ventures into ancient ruins, collecting forgotten knowledge, lost technologies, and broken histories. Welcome to the basic rules. Okay, so this game is inspired by the popular award-winning video game Hyper Light Drifter, published by Heart Machine and directed by Alex Preston. Because apparently there's no E there. You don't need to have played the video game to play Drifter, and we'll do our best to describe the core themes that make Hyper Light Drifter so beloved. I like that game. Okay. So, narrator covers battle, cartography, dungeon master, and quartermastering, which is how you do your downtime stuff. It can be played for single player or co-op. Narrator guided. Oh, so you can play this solo. You don't even need a dungeon master or a narrator, rather. Not bad. Co-op is, I believe, one-on-one, or one and then some. So standard RPG. Okay, so it's set in the Hyper Light Drifter world, which is broken, covered with like ruins, with old computers and stuff, filled with remnant technology. There are titans, which are your basic boss monsters, and as I've mentioned, it is kind of like a Souls-like game, and that there are bosses with like boss bars and such. There's a corruption that's spreading with scattered sanctuaries everywhere. Oh my god. Here's the thing about this game. I loved the art style of it. I love the pixel art style, and the fact that they've got it in this book is just bonus. I remember, as I mentioned, Metalweave Games did the Baby Bestiary stuff. Excellent art team in that particular company, and that shows here. This is pixel for pixel, like the game, but this is new art. So this basically tells you what you can do. You can travel the lands. You can create and rebuild from the lost civilization. So you need dice. They use a D20. And only a D20, no other dice. That's interesting. Character sheet tracks everything you need to know about your character. There are a few resources in Drifter that you'll need to track. Like, I'm going to guess, stamina, things like that, since it was a dodge-based game. Before getting the story, Drifter is recommended to have a Session 0. This is the game session that focuses on character creation and working out the details your group might work during play. I do like using those as Session 0. Anything above and beyond that, kind of garbage, but creating characters, deciding who does what, and you can have multiple narrator roles. If you got one that's really good at running combat, but the other one's really good at the story, that might be useful to go ahead and divide them up. That's actually not bad. And some of these narrator roles are just classic, sections. So you can actually have like if you've got a 4-player group, you can decide each one to run an individual narrator role. And in this instance, I don't have a problem with that because Hyper Light Drifter, was it a roguelike? I can't remember. Was it a roguelike? Oh, let me take a look at it. Oh, I gotta get Vagras recorded for tomorrow too. God damn, I'm gonna be busy. Yeah, in case anybody's looking, my Indie Game Friday tomorrow is probably gonna be Vagras. Maybe I might do something else, but no, it is not roguelike. I remembered wrong there. It's more like it's almost like a Zelda-ish kind of thing. Okay, so you can roleplay, you can contribute to the world. It is a collaborative RPG, and in most types of games, I'm not a big fan of that, but it can be fun. So you just set up the scene, invite the action from the players, and the players pose their players try to do stuff. and then you pose the action as the storyteller. Oh no, you don't. Oh, I hate this system. Oh my god, I was so in love with it, but I hate this sort of system. Basically, the players dictate the outcomes, and then the narrator has to tie them together. That's taking player agency into just player anarchy. I hate that. Oh, I hate that so much. That knocked it down like 3 stars, man. Oh, I hate systems like that. Systems like that are garbage, man. You may as well be playing like just like cops and robbers and stuff like that. Bang, you're dead. No, I'm not. I guess there are rules to get that, but God, it just grates on me. Alright, so when the character drifters are traversing long distances and journeying through the landscape, that's travel phase, combat phases, when swords cross, and an exploration phase for when you're exploring dungeons. That's usually your puzzle-based areas. And then downtime phase when you're back at the base. Character creation, you pick an affinity. The world is full of anthropomorphic peoples of varying sizes, shapes, and likenesses. The most commonly found affinities are avian, canine, feline, lizard, auto, raccoon, frog, and robotic, but you're not limited to just these options. I kind of vaguely remember that from the game. You select a class. The warrior is adept at fighting, the versifier is a master communicator, the wielder is a tinkerer, the delver seeks to explore the depths, and the wayfinder is a wilderness expert. Thresholds, they have 5 disciplines: combat, exploration, social, manipulate, and survival. That works as your stats, basically. So instead of it uses one of those attributes and skills or mixed kind of things. All start at 18, all temperance thresholds start at 10. Each of these disciplines has 2 values, fortune and temperance, that you roll against to see the outcome of an action. So fortune starts at 18, temperance starts at 10. And that's how you determine whether your action works or not, as you roll against those. Okay, so there is a system there. Don't make it sound like everybody can just say what they want to do, what they end up doing instead of what they want to do. All right. And then you get talents. 4 general, 1 dash, 1 passive. I'm presuming the dash one comes into effect when you dodge/dash. And then you use them from an ability bar, which is exactly how it works in the game. Not sure how I like about that kind of thing. You start with an equipment set, and then you pick a feature from page 32. You get a name, pick your drive. Which, again, is something that gets the character into motion, and I kind of like that idea. As goofy as it is, I did that for Black Ridge Barony. Instead of doing like the bonds and flaws and such, which this one has bonds as well, but instead of doing bonds and flaws, I had each person tell me what their character's driving motive for being in the area is, and then anytime they activate that in the game, they get inspiration instead of bonds and flaws. Because it's easier for my old man brain to keep track of. Okay, here's your classes as described. They're very, very briefly designed. Each one has health, energy, grit, which I'm assuming is used to power skills, and then nerve. They each get, I guess, abilities. Like some of them look passive. Helpful assist. So 2 of them, one of them is pure the class, one of them is specialized for a particular discipline, and then one of them triggers anytime another player does something, which is an interesting way to do things. But this really, really sounds like just playing a video game with more steps. Oh yeah, inspiration for my 5th edition games. Dude, in Grim Fortune Citadel, I stopped giving it out because nobody used it for like ever. So I was like, well, if nobody's using it, I'm not gonna give it out. Yeah, that's when I was using the old school style, man. No, I give inspiration out, and this new one, this new patron game I just started, we are just like right in the early things. You missed like the first 2 days, but they haven't really gotten that much experience. Uh, I haven't given inspiration out much on that one, but they will start getting it once they leave the area. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's funny though, man. There were two quests. There were two quests on the second day that your character would have been interested in for the. I'm talking to one of my patrons here. For those who are watching this later, there were two characters. There were two quests that your character in particular would have been interested in, right? And the group that did show up, the rest of them that did show up, didn't go on either. They just sat him out. They're like, not our problem. So that's how that worked out. Anyway. I'm not going to go through this in depth. This is a lot of reading. This just looks like... See, you've got stuff like cleave, full defense. This looks like... This is playing a video game with more steps. I love the art. I love the art, and I love the idea. I think, like, I'm not going in depth on a lot of this stuff. Some of this applies to combat, some of this applies to the travel phase, some of it applies to, like, the exploration phase. But they're basically, like, triggerable or passive actions that happen, and everything is like formalized, which makes it very, very clear that this game is based on a video game in much the same way that 4th edition D&D gave a lot of people vibes of it being video gaming. And since this is actually based on a video game, that's not necessarily a bad thing. I just feel like if I wanted to play I get wanting to make a video game tabletop game. And in fact, like, if I had a game that let me play Dark Souls on tabletop, I would get that in a heartbeat. And I've seen some people try to make RPGs that are like Souls-like. But Hyperlight Drifter, I feel like if I was going to play Hyperlight Drifter, I'd just play Hyperlight Drifter. I really appreciate the aesthetics on this. I'm not going into depth on all the way through this. This looks relatively streamlined from what I can read. It looks relatively streamlined, but there are some instances here where it also looks like I'd rather just play the video game. So what I can say, and I'm going through real quick here now. You even got suggested consequences for when they fail. It's actually kind of nice because some of these games that use like a all or nothing consequence list or consequence success check, they don't give you options. This one gives you like options based on how bad that you fail or how bad that you rack up consequences. Yeah, this is very well edited and organized. I will give it that. I'm able to just breeze through this, and I'm actually picking up a fair amount of the game. But here's like it's board-based combat. It's turn-based, board-based combat, trying to recreate a twitchy action RPG. And it suffers for that. I believe that they did the absolute best that they could. It's got really, look right here, you've got like room cards that you can set up in a deck, or you can roll dice to basically generate the dungeon in a roguelike manner. And I like that. And I believe that's the map of the game right there. Or at least part of the map of the game, if I remember right. So my takeaway on this, look, I usually think that Session 0 descriptions are garbage. But I actually like how they lay it out here. Like, fuck this consent in gaming bullshit. Alright? But I like, aside from that thing, let me put it to you this way. Game groups that require something, I've read the consent in gaming thing and the TTRPG safety toolkit thing, and my takeaway is this. If you are at a table that requires that, then somebody at that table is an absolute asshole. And if you don't know who that asshole is, then guess what? It's you. I have played with groups of all genders, all ages, all backgrounds, and I have never had the need to go into this. So I don't know whether it's like a general lack of interpersonal skills amongst amongst people nowadays. But if you can't read the room on this shit right off the bat, like I can appreciate that there's like a consent checklist and shit, but if I'm playing with people and I can't read the room on this shit, then I have no business running a game. But then again, I mostly play with friends. And I say that even though I run games that people pay, like my patrons get into my games, I like to think that I read the room well enough that I don't have problems with some of that. Now, some of my other players may have issues with one another, but I generally am able to disarm it as soon as I read the room that they aren't, that is becoming an issue. And I may be wrong about this. Tell me if I'm wrong about this. But I find, like I'm not pissed that there's stuff like this that exists. What I'm saying is that, again, if your table needs it, then there's an asshole at the table. And if you don't know who the asshole is, then it's you. Anyway. But I do like, overall, I do like this Session 0 layout. I do like the Session 0 layout. I need to do an entire thing based on that kind of shit, man. No, but I do like it. So overall, with this particular Hyperlife Drifter stuff, I think that they nailed the aesthetic very well. Extremely well. This aesthetic, like, I could see, well, except for this last thing. Fuck this last thing. But aside from this last artwork there, all the other artwork, all the layout in the book, this just screams Hyperlight Drifter. The battle system, I believe, reflects the video game as well as you can expect to convert to a tabletop game. And I believe this is incredibly well edited, which is high marks for me. High marks for me. Because I rarely say things are incredibly edited. Like, I think I recently did a review that I said, yes, they're incredibly well edited. I have no editing issues with this. It's well organized, it's laid out well, and it's technically astute. I think that personally, if I'm going to be playing Hyperlight Drifter, I just play Hyperlight Drifter. But for what it is, man, props. Again, Metal Weave Games publishes an excellent thing, and it looks like the Heart Machine team was right behind them with it. And there are minor changes still expected to come. Man, kudos all around on this. You may disagree with me on the last bit or not, but technically speaking, this is an excellent product. Kudos on that. Anyway, Hyperlight Drifter. And with that, I close out my RPG crawler. Pay what you want / free RPG quick look. I hope that I can record enough Vagris the Riven Realm to actually get a review of it out tomorrow. If not, expect it next week, and I'll do something else tomorrow for Indie Game Friday. And then I will be recording some more Might Magic World of Zine. I've got 6 more episodes of Celeste Crown of the Magister I've got to review. I've got to edit and put up, so my patrons can expect to see that. My patrons, Subscribe Star, and channel members can expect to get links to those up this weekend. I'm going to try and batch record the World of Zine stuff and get it all done at once, so expect it like either Sunday or Monday on those. So I'm now like going to get like 2 or 3 weeks in the hold. Expect my review of Goodman Games' Temple of Elemental Evil. I don't want to say soon, because this is a big book and there's 2 of these. But I'm going to try and get it out within this next week, and we will. And I do have a review of Deep Carbon Observatory coming up early next week. So I'm trying to get more tabletop reviews out, and if I can get more tabletop reviews out and get that on track, then I can start bringing back some of the other tabletop commentary stuff. But on that note, I gotta bail. This has been the RPG Crawler. Thank you for watching. If you like what you've seen, remember to leave a like, comment, got any feedback, and subscribe for more RPG content with tabletop and computer. Until next time, take care and goodbye.